Welcome to Kelly Minds Her Manners, a podcast about real estate and entrepreneurship with a twist. Here's your host, Kelly Robinson.
I have two amazing guests today from Compass's Sports and Entertainment Division. They're colleagues of mine. I'm so lucky to know them, and I want to introduce you to them. So first, Ben Moss. Ben and his team, the Ben Moss Group, are ranked number 8 in Florida in the Wall Street Journal's Real Trends Report. Ben is the National Director of Compass's Sports and Entertainment Division with over 140 members across 53 markets nationally. He has personally represented over 600 athletes and celebrities around the country. He is also an active real estate investor himself and has presented on the topic to athletes. He is a dedicated husband and father of 2. And Scott Drucker. Scott was born and bred in Miami. He joined Compass looking to turn his passion for baseball and love for his hometown into a successful real estate career. Scott is a former Major League Baseball player who pitched for the Oakland Athletics and Detroit Tigers, as well as internationally. Scott later became a sports agent at Paragon Sports International. He has a successful MLB blog ranked in the top 50 by journalists. He was also on Top Chef Miami. And he is a member of Compass's Sports and Entertainment Division, as I discussed later. He also has a huge sneaker collection. You might want to look at it. Welcome to a very special episode of Kelly Minds Her Manners. I have not only one guest today, but 2. I have Scott Drucker and Ben Moss, both Compass Sports and Entertainment colleagues of mine. And look how dapper they are. I feel like the thorn between 2 roses. When you guys are ready, we'll get started.
Let's do it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So my first question is for Ben. Ben, how did you come to specialize in representing celebrities and athletes? And how did you get into real estate?
Well, the first one I'll tackle first, which is by mistake, Kelly. It wasn't my thing necessarily, but I went to the University of Miami. And I was friends with some football players, and I was also flipping some houses on the side, like knocking on doors on the weekends and things like that. And so they kind of knew me as a real estate person, but I also wore a suit to class, a really bad looking suit that I would hop on the Metro Rail and go to Brickell Avenue, downtown Miami. And I was working at Merrill Lynch. But they saw me as a real estate guy. And then little by little, I started seeing, as I graduated, they're asking me for help in Denver. Or, hey, Ben, I want to sign a contract to build a house in Jacksonville. Can you review this for me? And one thing led to another. And then I saw an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, okay, this is something that there's a need for this. And so I'm just going to explore this more. And I got into real estate because my dad found one of these ads for like a 3-day seminar, investing seminar, where you go and they teach you how to flip a property. Or so I thought. So I went out and started flipping properties, trying to knock on doors. Like I said, I got one under contract. And that's a whole different story. But I said, I made a few $1,000s on that. I left $100,000 on the table. But I still made a few thousand. I was working for like $13 an hour at the time. And I said, real estate is awesome. I'm going to do this. And so that was the journey there.
That's awesome. I love that. Scott, what caused you to make the jump from a sports agent at Paragon to residential real estate agent? And how has your former experience shaped your business?
Great question. I had played professional baseball for 10 years. When I retired, I became a sports agent. The company that represented me when I played, so it was an easy transition. But doing that after 5 years, it felt like I needed to step away from sport, actually. So I had a colleague of mine that was joining Compass. He said, do you want to get your real estate license? I said, what do I have to do? He's like, do you have a heartbeat and a pulse? I said, sure, you can be a realtor. And kind of went at it from there. And it's been very lucky in the South Florida market with the boom we've had over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so both of you, what was your most memorable or interesting experience with a celebrity or athlete during a real estate deal?
I think we're laughing because there's so many of them. Where to start? I mean, I would say one that comes to mind is like a famous rapper that anybody would know. And he's pulling up with his entourage at, what building was it? The Marano Grande, I think on South of 5th. And the amount of like weed smoke that just opened up and just like came through everywhere. And I was like, oh man, and there's like 20 people and all that stuff. There's another one with a famous boxer, same building more or less. And he's just handing out like $400 or $500 a pop to every valet guy out of a gym bag. And
it's a lucky day for them.
Yeah, just like crazy stuff. Another one where the guy left I don't know, a diamond encrusted watch at a house that I was showing, and kind of left it there by a laptop. And then so my co-listing agent and I are like chasing him down on Alton Road, and he's like, "Oh, this was a test to make sure that, you know." And then he wasn't loyal after that anyway. So it's like, "Oh, we could have just kept the watch." Not that we would have, but it was like a test that he forgot about or something. Anyway, so there's so many stories, but I'll let Scott go from there.
Ours was, it was one of my first months in the industry. We got a Zillow lead from a very famous NFL player. We missed the call, but the email address was basically using an example, michaeljordan@gmail.com. And we were like, this can't be the guy. Called him up. The next day we were out showing properties and got under contract fairly quickly for, I think it was like $7.5 million. So
awesome.
It was very odd to see a high-end celebrity looking on his own and not have his own agent,
right.
You know, and literally going through Zillow, just calling, you know, calling listings.
Yeah, right. Some people like to do their own legwork. What other services that most agents don't provide do you provide to your S&E clients that differentiates you from other agents or realtors? Both of you.
I'll jump to that one. I mean, I think there's not a whole lot of other services. I mean, we all have to have our vendors and service providers and good people that we can vet and put in front of them. I think the biggest thing probably for all of us in this line of business is just confidentiality and understanding how to be discreet.
Absolutely.
I don't know, Scott, what you would say.
No, 100%. I think, you know, whether it's an S&E client or a regular, you still want to vet them and treat them the same way, but it is that discretion. It's also just understanding who the decision maker is, because when you do have these S&E clients, there's the agent, the business manager, the financial advisor, the wife, the baby mama, the, you know, whoever it may be. You got to find out who that decision maker is and kind of, you know, pull to them to, you know, assist with the transaction. But like Ben said as well, the vendors, just having that other, you know, wearing extra hats in the sense of car shipping or, you know, babysitters in the area, just, you know, that going that extra level of service to really, you know, separate us then from another realtor.
Yeah, absolutely. This is for both of you. What or who inspires you?
Sorry, I keep looking at you because I need to think about
you go first this time.
I'll go first. What inspires me? It's almost like when I was a sports agent, when you recruit these players, and sorry for all the baseball cliches and sports agent world, but it's when you get somebody and you see them go through the grind and finally make it to the big leagues. It's almost the same thing here. The cliche renters become owners. They get their first mortgage. They buy multiple properties from an investment side. So it's that rewarding side of seeing them grow themselves, whether it's from a financial and investment opportunity or their own family growing from an apartment to a house and going from that standpoint.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, I think mine is just the connection with people, the ability that we have as realtors to connect with people. Like, we have an excuse to go play golf, right? Or to go on the boat or do the things that we love to do. I don't do either of those things, but a client can come from anywhere. And I think that's the thing, you know, I've seen clients come from anywhere, and just the ability to connect with people and just be authentic and really care about them. And then, you know, we're not being salesy while we're doing that.
100%.
Hopefully not, right?
Yeah.
In this business. And then they remember us, and we're connecting them with other people also. So I think that, and then also the ability to keep growing. It's like, you think you've seen everything in this business, and then something comes out of left field and you're like, oh man, okay, here's an opportunity for me to grow yet again and yet again. And so I think that's the kind of the interesting part, the hard part, but the really interesting part if we're geared that way.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Another great answer. How do you guys balance your career with your personal life and family time?
I think Ben does a way better job with balance than I do. Just because I know, you know, his wife does very good with the meditation, and I mean, you could, and the coaching.
Well, we try. I feel like you're setting me up to give the answer, but yeah, I think, I mean, I've learned through suffering. It's not like I just woke up out of bed and said, oh, this is it. I've gone through the burnout and the ups and the downs, and I just got to a point where I said, okay, I've got young kids now, and, you know, kind of reaching that middle age part also, and a lot of these things kind of converge and say, okay, what are my values, and how do I live more in accordance with my values, as opposed to like know what they are, or some people don't even know what they are, and then just they ignore them. And I think I started to do that, and then I started to get more in line and find things that are giving me energy versus taking away energy. Like, you know, yeah, I'd love to sit up and have another beer and watch whatever, but you know what? If I do that, I'm not going to wake up at 5 a.m. the next morning and meditate and go to the gym and move my body. And after doing that by 7:30 the next morning, like, I feel really good. And if I had done the other thing, I would have woke up at 7:30 and had done nothing and probably be disappointed that. So, you know, it's like, but it's also not being too strict, because you got to have some fun too. So like, make time to have fun, make time to play the guitar, make time to spend time with the kids, make time to like work, do all the things that we have to do. So
So you're a guitar player too.
Not very good, but yeah, I wouldn't get up on stage and play, but I enjoy it.
So that leads to another question, because Ben, I call you Zen Ben. I don't know if you know that, but
Just because it rhymes.
were you always calm and collected and doing meditation, or was this a learned thing for you?
No. If you ask all my high school buddies, so we're on a group chat, the 9 of us is like a really close group of guy friends. And my nickname, if you ask anyone, was TNT. So it was totally the opposite.
We'd like to be on that. I would like to hear some of those stories.
So what changed?
Yeah, I mean, punching tow truck hoods and all the other stuff. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I think I learned to not suppress emotion, and I learned to say, okay, it's okay to feel this, but I don't have to go to the next level of like acting out the feeling. I can actually have a choice, and kind of like in Man's Search for Meaning, in the book by Viktor Frankl, he talks about stimulus and response and creating that space and realizing you have a choice on how you're going to respond to every situation. And so I think just working on that over and over and over and over and over again, getting to a place of, sometimes bad decisions are made, but then owning up and saying, okay, I apologize for that. Like quickly, don't wait 2 weeks, like right after the thing happens, then you apologize for it, and don't beat yourself up over it either,
Yeah. Well, I respect that, because so many people don't work on their emotional intelligence, and you clearly do.
Zen Ben, I like that.
I've been called worse.
You're gonna get a jersey.
I think it's a good it's a compliment to you.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So what do celebrities and athletes look most for in a home?
It's a great question. See the rigmarole of it all. Some want the over-the-top basketball court and gyms in there.
Yep.
Some want the privacy and gates and security. It's a buffer of both. It's just, I think, managing their expectations based on budget, location, schools, what is important, checking those boxes. Of course, you cast a wide net initially, but then you have to hone it in depending on, whatever criteria, meets that match. So,
yeah.
But I'm sure we both seen it all. It's the sublime and ridiculous. It's just making sure that everybody's on the same page. Like, hey, if this is a 3-year plan, like, do we need to be spending X and O, want to protect them too.
Absolutely. What do you think?
Yeah, I still see all the athlete clients, they all want their space to get away, even if it's like they love their family, but they want that space, the man cave, the room, the section of the house, whatever it is, where they can still just decompress and do whatever they're going to do. And it usually involves like screens, like video games, TVs. A lot of them are into music as well. Mm-hmm. So like maybe doing a little of that stuff. I think that's the number one thing, in addition to what Scott mentioned it too. And then I think more and more with the age of social media and being such public figures in so many ways now, just having some kind of restriction.
Yeah.
So like gated communities or condos. And I work with some young musicians too that are going through that. And it's like, well, we don't want them to go through a lobby. Like we want them to go from their parking garage spot right up to the unit
100%.
And have a private foyer, as opposed to like having to walk down a building with a hallway or mingle with the people,
And I'm sure the recovery too now, I'm sure you're seeing it, whether it's the hyperbaric chambers, the salt rooms, the saunas, that they want to have something also away from the field where they can do their recovery.
Yeah. And that's interesting, because you can get so many of those things done in your market, whereas in New York City, it's much harder.
Those hyperbaric chambers take up a lot of space.
They do.
Not cheap
That's
either.
another, $1.5 million for that bedroom. What do you find different about working with celebrities and athletes, and why is having a network like the sports and entertainment division so important in this regard?
I think like Scott mentioned, the layers of people, the business managers, then the managers who aren't even responsive, like they're like a celebrity.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, hold on a second. You're the one that's supposed to be coordinating everything, and you're not returning phone calls or it's just, sometimes you're like, who's the celebrity here, right? The actual client or the manager who's managing the client. And then you got the business manager, and then you got, so I think there's those layers and understanding how to work with that. And I have an NBA client who, 7 foot tall, grown man. And I sent him an offer the day. He said, let me call my mom, So like, I wouldn't hear that from an accountant or another kind of client.
Right.
I mean, I think it's also just our niche, unique network where we can, we have a great WhatsApp group in the S&E division where we can reach out to other people in different markets and, hey, how did you, deal with a situation like this? And we can, benefit from other scenarios that people, myself haven't dealt with NFL guys or NBA as much. So I would call Ben to reach out and get that, collaborative energy to, hey, who should I reach out? What have you done in the past? So I think that's another great part of our group that allows for that collaborativity.
I agree.
Yeah.
What is so important about the location of an athlete's home in relation to the stadium or practice facilities?
You see a little bit of everything. Some guys, I have one guy that plays for the Dolphins, and he sold him a house in Miami Beach. And I said, "Are you sure you want to live in Miami Beach?" Because all the guys are up in Broward, and he liked the 45-minute commute somehow. He felt like he was getting that alone time in the car. But I would say most of them, especially the younger ones, they kind of have to know what their vices are and stay away from the things that are going to draw them into trouble,
right?
Like bars and restaurants and those kind of things. But I think generally, like, they want to be 15, 20 minutes away from the practice facility, which could be different than where they actually play games.
Right.
And so just understanding some of those nuances as realtors, we have to be aware of that, and traffic patterns, especially when they're going, because like they might be getting the practice facility way before rush hour traffic begins, right. But then they're hitting it sometimes on the way home, or baseball, they get to the stadium at 2:00, right? So it's just all these different understandings of like how they move and about.
And there are fines if you're late for practice, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Scott would know more about that than me, but
there are fines. But yeah, it's all relative, because some guys may want to have that 45-minute drive to listen to a podcast. They don't want to feel like they just get out of their house and get right to the stadium. But it also depends on the deal the current player has. If it's a long-term deal, he's living here, it knows it's a long-term stay, he'll live a little farther. Some guys that are renting and they don't know how long their contract's for, they may want to be a little closer.
Totally. What is your morning routine?
Morning routine. I eat terrible cereal. I love Kitty cereal.
So what's your favorite cereal?
I mean, it could be Oreo cereal or Captain Crunch. I'm just bad. I'm a breakfast guy, but I always love cereal. My daughter, get her ready for school. Go through the email chain and the Instagram and all that stuff just to catch up on any news.
Yeah.
And then jump in the car and have a couple podcasts that, we listen to. But very simple. So should I, not rush to the phone as quickly? Probably, but I'm guilty, along with my kitty cereal.
If I could eat kitty cereal, it would be Lucky Charms.
There you go. Good call.
Yeah. What about you?
I also love cereal, but I make my own. So I sprout buckwheat groats and I dehydrate them, and I kind of make a granola out of them.
Oh my gosh.
Because I love the sugar cereal so much that I was like eating way too much, typically like granola and some of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I love that stuff. So
that's awesome.
So I decided to go healthy with that. But so I'll make you some buckwheat granola.
No, please, I'm down to try it. All right.
Got to throw some honey in there. But yeah, I mean, I wake up at like 4:45 or 5, and then it always involves meditation, gratitude, usually some breath holding, like Wim Hof kind of breath work. And then I have my mantra, like my affirmations, I guess is the best way to say it. And then I got to move the body somehow. So I'm either doing like bug crawls across the floor, I'm working out, I'm running stairs, like I'm riding the bike. Like I try to cross train pretty well. So I find that like, we might be sitting.
Who wakes up earlier? You or Mark Wahlberg?
I don't know.
I'm up at 4:30,
okay.
So
that's too early. Yeah, so I got to sleep also. That's the one thing I don't do it well enough. Like I need to get to bed like 9:00 the night before, which is tough sometimes. But
yeah, for sure. Is there anything on your mind that you would like to share with the audience today?
Realtors of Miami, answer your phone, answer your text. If you have a listing, like it should be wanting to be sold. No, that's my biggest pet peeve in this industry. Just I hate to say lack of professionalism, but it is to an extent. And the same thing with offers. Me and Ben were talking about this earlier. Everybody has access to the phone or email. And even if a foreign owner is overseas, I would expect them to have access to look at and review an offer within 24 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I had to get that off.
That's all right. That's all good. Hopefully people will listen to you and take note of that.
Yeah, I'm with you. In addition to that, then I would say, for everybody just to calm down simmer down a little bit and be more open to the other side of discussions, to be more curious, I guess, right? Like I think people with social media, and we're always on our phones, and my big thing is, am I using my phone as a device or as a distraction or as a tool? And I'm always kind of battling with that because we have to use our phones so much of the time. And I was telling Scott, like I've been, since the banking crisis and all that stuff, I've been like on Twitter all the time. And you go down these rabbit holes, and I'm like, what am I doing? Okay, this is beyond learning about something. Now I'm just spending way too much time on this thing. And so,
it's like trying to find the end of the internet.
Conclusion.
So be more purposeful, be more curious, I think, and be more open-minded to other people's viewpoints. Because I think right now we're losing democracy in a lot of ways, and like all the things that we're working so hard and all the benefits. It's sad to see the polarization and the infighting among close groups of people that are not having the ability to speak and communicate with each other, even among friends. And I see that now, and it's like really a different time.
It is. You're
Great
absolutely
point.
right.
Yeah.
And it is a great point. Okay, now it's time for audience questions, which we have a lot of. Everybody wants a piece of you guys. So this one's for Scott. This is from James Brewer at Brewer Body on Instagram. He happens to be my personal trainer, and he is a former pro basketball player. Does being a real estate agent in sports and entertainment division keep you close to the sport or sports you love and perhaps miss? Why and how?
Yeah, no, definitely. I still have an affinity to the game and relationships with, the ball clubs and the C level and actually players. There's players that I played with now that sadly from me that are still playing since I retired. But there's also players that I play with that are now coaches. So it's kind of the old, hamster wheel of just staying in touch with those guys, facilitating them if they need any help. And I still have a passion and love for the game. Do I watch it as much as I used to? No, but it's still good to have those relationships.
Yeah, for sure. Ben, this is from Molly Reed at Rove Residential on Instagram. In a room full of agents, what is the one thing in the mind of an athlete or celebrity that they would be looking for that sets you apart from other agents?
I think I treat them as a normal person.
Yeah.
I see a lot of realtors sometimes, and I'm sure Scott, and I'm sure you see it too, Kelly, that you're there with the client, and they're trying to talk shop about like sports or whatever the case is. And I was with a famous actor yesterday, and just seeing how people react to him is just so annoying.
Yeah.
And so I purposely did not bring up any of that stuff and just treated him like a normal person. And I think he was probably like a little bit surprised, and I think that's it. They're such in the public light that we just have to treat them like a normal person. That's what they want.
Yeah, it's so true. And, they don't know when they get to a certain point of fame or success who's really there for them for the right reason. So it's so important to just treat them like everybody else.
I have a quick story on that. So I have a coach for a team that I helped a couple of years ago, and I purposely didn't reach out to them during the season because I said, it's busy. I don't want to bother them. So I reached out to them after the season, and the wife finally texted me back. And she's like, sorry for the delay, but we have so many people hitting us up at the end of the season that sometimes it's hard to know what people's intentions are.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, wow, I totally understand that. But no, like I was reaching out because we talked about getting together for dinner. And so my intentions are pure. And plus, I'm your realtor. Why are other people reaching out to you? Like, who are all these other realtors that are reaching out to you, first of all? But, it's like territorial, right? In that sense. But yeah, it was just interesting that these are clients of mine, and I know them, and I wasn't reaching out for that reason because he's still working at the team. Yeah. But yet she didn't respond purposely because she was getting hit up and was concerned and felt like, what are people's intentions? It was just it was surprising.
Yeah. Scott, another one from Molly Reed. What is the one specific piece of advice for new agents to leverage current relationships in the acquaintance phase into long-term relationships that result in ongoing business, specifically in the sports world? I know that's a long question.
That's a detailed question. I've always been wired the way my parents have always taught me, like give. I've never looked at, long story short, when I used to play, they used to call me Red in the locker room. There was like the guy from Shawshank Redemption that can get you anything. My locker room would be filled with, whether it's clothing, electronics, but I was always the guy facilitating and giving to people. I think the same thing in real estate, rather than always, people always think, oh, ask for the business. It's like, yes, I would assume anybody you're working with is should ask for the business, but at the same token, hey, what can I do for you? You just moved down here. You want to know the good restaurants, the good, nightlife, or, here's a free comp on your house, the market, just giving information and, good karma, good juju, everything will, steer itself around. Hopefully that answered the detailed question, but I think it's more just giving, being real, like we were talking earlier, being transparent, real, you are going to get burned in this industry. People are going to cheat on you. But I think in the end all, you can't, waver, just got to stay in your lane and learn from it. Experience too. Learn.
100%. Ben, from Irene Bass at Irene D. Bass on Instagram, what keeps you in a positive mindset and what would be a great day for you?
So one thing I didn't answer about my earlier question about morning routine, the first thing that I do, and I'm pretty good about it now, it took me a while to get there. Like I put my feet on the ground when I roll out of bed at 5 a.m. and I put my feet on the ground and I put my hands up and I say, it's an honor and a privilege to live this life. So no matter what happens throughout the day, like I try to root, that's like, and I don't wake up thinking that way. That's not my natural inclination. My natural inclination is like to worry and, go into anger. I'm not a victim. I'm an anger person. So, but since I started doing that, like it just sets the tone for the day.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, instead of something happens that I don't like, okay, granted, I didn't like that. Where's the opportunity now? Like Scott said, like to learn and be curious. And so, it just sets the tone for the day.
I like that. That's a good one.
I like that too.
Everybody should do it.
No,
It literally is grounding yourself by putting your feet on the ground.
Like, I have the argument with my wife all the time, like, why not now? Like, can you take your laundry out so I can do mine? It's like, later, why not now? Like, that's how my mantra is more like, why not now? Like, why wait? Who knows what the next, is if we're here, if we're not, if something changes in schedule, like, why not now? Do it now.
Yeah. That's Mel Robbins' 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule.
Right. It's all caveat of it all.
Yeah. For both of you, from Amy Scruggs at Amy Scruggs Media on Instagram, if you could go back and advise yourselves at the beginning of your careers, what would be the one thing you would tell yourselves?
I would be more structured around prospecting, like really getting a CRM dialed in. And I say that I'm still not totally dialed in on my CRM. So
Guilty.
like it would really be, I think a lot of people are not dialed in at the CRM.
Yeah.
They're selling even at some of the top realtors in the country, I'm sure would say that they're not dialed in on their CRM. So I would say focus on that first and foremost.
Yeah.
I concur with that. I'm guilty. I can't delete people's phone numbers. But I also have like a very diverse network with all my travels. Not that the guy I played with in Taiwan is ever going to buy a house from me, but just I can't delete that guy's number for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But to piggyback off of that, I think it's also having a mentor. And I'm not saying, I haven't been in this long enough, and I'm kind of still flying by the wings, but even if it's not a true coach that you hire, whatnot, just colleagues in the industry that you can feel, that you can vet and have that, conversation that's a little past the friendship thing. That's more, hey, shoot me straight. Am I doing this right? That whole having a mentor or one or two co-agents, I think, is a huge benefactor to making people successful.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I started out working on teams after doing a year of rentals and making no money and having sweat stains all over me. And then I was like, okay, I need to break into sales, which is really hard to do in New York City. If you're not already in sales, it's a catch-22. And my mom actually found me a job working for a top producer as her assistant. I then became 4 months later an agent on her team and worked on teams for the first, I would say, 6 years of my 18-year career. And it taught me what to do. It taught me what not to do. It just threw me into the business. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made, even though I wasn't necessarily treated right. It doesn't matter. Like, you learn so much, and I would never give that experience up for the world.
So true.
Yeah.
I didn't have a mentor, and I wish I had. It would have fast-tracked a lot of things.
Well, you're doing pretty well.
Right. I was about to say, you were probably passionate enough and got your hands dirty and, catapulted yourself too.
Yeah.
You're both doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah. From Monica Pauly at Monica's List on Instagram, she has 2 questions. Number 1, what are your succession plans out of real estate?
I have my kid coding. She gets a little toy every month from coding. So I hope she, creates something and daddy can retire. That's my succession plan. I'm not good enough on TikTok so no. She's my success story, but I'd love to stay involved in the game. I still get calls from clubs to, get on the scouting side or front office. So still have that appreciation for the game. So should real estate ever go sideways or want to take a break from it, get back involved with the game.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking at some point of kind of doing a rebrand on the team away from my name, because the team was just my name, because that's what it was. And then being a little bit more forthright with some of the younger generation coming up and maybe giving some ownership of some sort, trying to figure all that stuff out. But I'd love to have a farm, and I'd love to create something on a piece of land, like let's say 100 acres in Vermont, and
amazing,
create a real estate thing there, trails and maybe a retreat center, bring people, have animals, regenerative farm. So I'm reading a lot of books about soil, and my wife and I are going to a regenerative farming conference outside of Austin next month. And really trying to learn about this stuff, because I really want to do it. Yeah.
Do you have a team name in mind, or is it just going to be a symbol?
No,
like
I don't
Prince?
know what it is. Yeah, maybe a symbol.
It's going to have advisory after it. That's what
probably
right. Okay, so this is also for both of you from Monica Pauly. If you could time travel, where would you go?
Ooh. Please, I need a minute there.
I feel like I'd like to go back in time and, kind of be like, I've got some Native American ancestry.
Oh, cool.
And so just go back and, just be among those people like 500 years ago and just live off the land. It sounds very idealistic, and I'm sure it wasn't that, but I love the idea of living in concert with nature and the natural rhythms, and just seeing what life was like at that point in time.
Yeah, for sure. Without phones.
I'd go back to whatever it was where Biff gave Marty McFly the sports almanac, and so I could gamble and be set for life. So
that's a great answer. That is so funny. Scott, from Ben Jones at Buy with Ben, where did you get your amazing taste in shoes?
I've always had an affinity to shoes. Growing up, we all wanted the Jordans and the Nikes. I had the parents that weren't spending $100 on sneakers, so I had a job and I would save up. And then I learned a couple loopholes with Nike, how to, send some shoes back and get free shoes. And kind of when I played at all the universities that were Nike sponsored, I was able to collect player shoes at the end of the year, turn those into profit or more shoes. So it's kind of just continued to grow. I try to keep them under 200 pairs, but...
Under 200 pairs.
That's like my cutoff. I can't get over.
You have some great shoes on today. I'm not going to make you stretch your leg to show everybody, but
let's see them.
I'll show them.
Animal print. Animal print. What about?
You don't ask me about my shoes. So.
Yeah. Okay, this is for both of you from Kristen Ergot. Kristen sells NJ. What's the number one way you stay in touch with your clients? And when sourcing off-market properties, who do you secure a commission agreement with, the buyer or the seller?
I think as far as number one way of staying in front of clients is to do face-to-face. Like, I think that's the best thing. So it's hard to do and it takes the time. It's like the slow game, but I think one face-to-face interaction over the course of 6 months is so much stronger than a bunch of text messages back and forth. So
100%.
For me, that's always it. And as far as commission, I always go after the seller to secure the commission agreement.
Completely agree about the commission agreement. Aaron Buckbinder, a close friend up in our Boca market, he has a nice way of keeping in touch with clients. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. He reaches out to 5, people in his sphere, 4 agents in the market, 3, I think it was friends, and then 2 was like personal letters, but I've gotten away from that just with our market being so crazy. Yeah. And then 1 social media touch point. So it's kind of a nice, to-do list on the day, reaching out to some, 5 new, 5 old people, and then local, influence market, realtors to kind of see where their market's at or how deals have been. So that's kind of how I keep in touch with my colleagues and sphere.
That's interesting. I love personal notes. I do so many handwritten notes to people, and nobody does it anymore, and people love them.
You have great penmanship.
Oh, thanks. I mean, sometimes I can't read it, but thank you.
It's true. It's so nice to get something in the mail from somebody, and it's so rare.
It is so rare, especially if it's heartfelt. Okay, so now we're on to my fearless 5 questions, but it's actually going to be 10 since there are 2 of you. There are 10 questions. You each get 2 passes.
All right.
I would have rather like 2 truths than a lie. But.
Yeah, well, or truth or dare, but don't worry, we're not doing that. Okay, so what is something you think other people value that you don't necessarily subscribe to?
Let's pause.
I would say for me, it's like likes on social media or like hearts on comments or things like that.
Okay.
I agree to that. I actually had to call a sports agent out today because he posted that he got a blue check. And I said, you can pay $14.99 for this blue check.
Oh, they roll that out? Which is
fine,
now?
But he rolled it out like thinking, he spun it a different way, for his likes. But I think that's a great point. I think we're a part of an era where we need to be more authentic,
Yeah, for sure.
And people could read through the BS. It's the same thing with, I think when we started our account, we bought followers. Like, I'm guilty of it, but realize you're better off having 1,000 followers than 10,000.
100%.
The fake accounts, who cares?
Quantity over quality.
Exactly.
People who are fake aren't going to buy real estate from you. Okay, what's the last thing you Googled?
Last thing I Googled. It was probably myself because I needed to get to my Compass landing page.
Oh, good.
Or another Compass agent, I think. That was literally the last thing to just pull up what listings they had.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
I was laughing because I think it was the Cuban Missile Crisis. Because my son is so curious and like.
Yeah.
Actually,
like
sorry, I take that back. Polybutylene in Broward County. These are pipes from 1988 to 1995 that I'm dealing with a baseball coach in a Division I program locally buy a house. So we've been running into this issue with these homes built during the certain era that they have these pipes that are not insurable for new buyers. So,
Oh my gosh.
so I was Googling the proper pronunciation for it, actually.
There you go. Thank God for Google.
Yes.
What has been the most pivotal relationship in your life?
I think it's my relationship with my family and my daughter. You know, having a child, they all say it changes you. You don't believe it until you do.
Yeah.
Of course, having a daughter, you know, it's dad, girl, all that, as much as all your colleagues, you know, in the baseball world say, oh, you want a lefty pitcher, you know, play catch with your boy. And no, I would, you know, never take anything back. So I think the relationship with my, you know, as my daughter's grown, as my wife and family's grown, that's been a catalyst to just business life, you know, enjoying it more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the same. My wife first, and then having two children with her, like it's all kind of one, like the family unit, but that principal family unit. How much I've changed as a person, my values, being so much happier, all those things.
Who was your most memorable client that you are allowed to disclose? You don't even have to say the name. You can just talk about them.
This is not an S&E client, but I feel guilty about this deal. It was a $3.5 million deal. I never met the client. Client never saw the property, and we closed, and I still didn't meet the client.
Those
It
are the
felt
best.
like very Miami, like sunny place for shady people. I felt guilty that even during the inspection, like I felt I had to fight for something, you know, just out of principle because it was such an easy deal. So that was kind of like one of those one-off deals where I also talked to all my colleagues in the industry because I felt guilty of it. They're like, no, don't feel guilty because we go through the rigmarole of buyers are liars and sellers don't give you price reductions. So like you're deserving of this. And I'm sure all of us have had a deal where hopefully it was not as seamless. I mean, I hope you did, but you know, that was one of those weird one-off deals.
No, I hear you. Whenever I have a really easy deal, I feel that guilt too, because I also feel like I should be fighting for them in some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you think about all the 10 deals that you should have gotten closed for no reason of your own, and no fault of your own, didn't close. And so it's all that, the law of average thing, right?
Totally. So,
does he have one? I want
yeah,
to know.
that's what I was gonna.
He's dealt with bigger guys than me.
I'm drawing a blank on like one in particular. It's hard.
That's okay.
It's hard. Yeah, I'll pass on that one.
Okay.
There you go.
What was your major in college?
Sport management with a double minor in business and chemistry.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know how the chemistry snuck in there. I pulled my transcripts up a couple years ago just out of, you know, curiosity, and somehow I must have taken enough courses where chemistry was a minor. But I was also, you know, being an athlete, I was kind of pushed into certain, you know, classes to graduate and get it done, and not really choice of major. So, I mean, I remember taking Haitian Creole with Udonis Haslam and, you know, Lito Shepherd at the University of Florida.
That's
so
kind of
like,
cool.
Yeah, it was.
I like that.
You know.
I actually got out of chemistry in high school because I was acting so much, and I'd already gotten an early decision to a conservatory program for college, so they let me out of chemistry.
There you go.
I was so bad at chemistry.
And I paid $10 to a very smart girl next to me to let me cheat off of her. So in high school.
So, what was your major in college?
International finance and marketing.
Okay.
Because I wanted to do a little finance, a little bit of marketing. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. So that to me was a little bit of everything. And I wanted to get an undergraduate business degree. So I wanted to have that focus. So it was good. It was a good decision to do.
Yeah, for sure. What quote resonates with you most and why?
I'll pass on that one.
There's a few, but I would say one that, well, I'll give you a couple. One is, ain't no one messing with you but you. It's a line from Althea by the Grateful Dead, because so many times we get stuck in our heads about things like nobody else is seeing it that way, but we are our own worst critic, and sometimes way more than we should be.
Yeah.
Another one is Easy Choices, Hard Life, Hard Choices, Easy Life by Jerzy Gregoric. He's this little like Romanian deadlifting guy who wrote a book called The Happy Body. And I love that quote because it's just, what choice I'm going to make here? Is it the hard choice? Is it the easy choice? And what comes from that? So you kind of have to think it through.
Yeah. And spending more time doing more work, it makes you more grateful for what you've achieved, you know, what you've got.
I knew I wasn't going to be able to top any of that. So.
Is your bed made right now?
Yes, that is, yes.
Yes, I can thank Tim Ferriss for that. He talks about that. And it's like simple little pleasure, like, yeah.
Okay. What is on your bucket list?
So I just signed up for a race. It's called the Race to the Top of Vermont in late August. And it's a 4.2 mile race up. It's like 2,600 feet of elevation.
Oh, wow. That's
and
tough.
I have metatarsalgia right now. I've had it since like last year. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get on gear and start running and be ready to crush that race and try not to walk at all. So that's on the bucket list for the summer.
Good for you.
I haven't been to Cooperstown yet. I need to go to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Awesome.
It's one of those just
you
nostalgia.
Do have to
you
go.
Gotta go, but it's in Cooperstown. It's not the easiest to get to. Gotta go up to upstate and kind of shoot over.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to go. Okay, are you more of an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert.
Extrovert.
Okay. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Still in Miami Beach. I love it here. I've lived all over the world. Still always found myself back in Miami. I hope to be doing real estate. I mean, it's been enjoyable. I enjoy transacting. Can I grow and get better in this? Sure. Should I know certain styles and appliances that are hard to pronounce, but I think it's all about growth and learning. But yeah, I hope to be in Miami doing real estate, working for Ben's team possibly.
Come join us, man. It's real estate for sure. I mean, I think it's in our blood. Once you start in this business, it's hard. Like, we love the deals, we love the connections with clients. I think we can do away with some of the things that are like realtors not calling us back and some of those things, but hopefully we can have people on our team that help us do some of those things so we can focus the most on the enjoyable parts, because that's what I think is sustainable over the long term. And I'd like to take a piece of land and do something really cool with it and leave that as a legacy piece for my family, for other people to come and enjoy. And I have some ideas about what that looks like, but it would involve me being out of town, but also building a team to do that. And I've realized, like, you have to put teams of people around you. And I was kind of slow to learn this, I think, and I just read a good book called The Culture Code.
I've heard
that a buddy of mine gave me. I'd highly recommend it. It's amazing, and so many good like examples and stories in there, and things that are counter to what we would actually think about what makes a strong leader. And at least it was for me in some ways. But so I'd like to spend some time more connecting with nature. I feel like the desire to ground a little bit more.
Awesome. All right.
What about you?
Yeah.
What about me?
I know it's your podcast, but we gotta,
Where do I see myself in 5 years? I see myself continuing in real estate. I've been in real estate for 18 years now, and I love homes and design and connecting with people. And it's just, even if it's a really small deal, I mean, even if some of the smaller deals give me the most gratitude, because the clients really appreciate you so much more. And of course the big deals are great, but that's where I see myself in 5 years. I also have a startup on the side, so I'm hoping that, most 90% of them fail, so we'll see, but hopefully that will take off too. But again, like you said, it's important to have a team around you. And I believe strongly in interns, and I learned so much from my interns. I have them every single season of the year. I believe in surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you in some way, shape, or form, just to make a whole, instead of just one person who has a bunch of people under them that are the same person. It doesn't work that way. So I just want to continue to build a team of people who do things way better than me so that I can continue to learn. Okay, Scott, tell us more about your MLB blog and tell us about Top Chef.
So when I was playing, this is very close to the beginning of Twitter, this, that, and blogs. So I just felt an affinity to have a closeness to the fans of the game and kind of let them in without giving up the locker room talk, call it. So I wrote a blog. Keith Olbermann was, a fan of it, this, that, and the other. So it was just fun. It was a way for me to get back to the game and just have that fan connection. I thought, because, eventually I'm going to stop playing. People are going to not want my autograph on the streets. So I was always, it was always cool to be outside, if I wasn't pitching, to, connect with the fans, autographs, whatever the case may be. Top Chef, we were talking about it earlier, reality TV, and there's a lot in the real estate world. Luckily, I had a friend that when Top Chef was filmed down here, We got invited to join. It was on a cruise ship. It was just, as we spoke earlier, reality isn't all reality. A lot of script, a lot of edits.
Scripted reality.
But it was cool. I still am a fan of the show. We still follow it. As much as I don't watch TV, that's probably that and The Challenge are still like my guilty pleasures of reality TV.
Are you a big cook?
I am not. I'm not. No, I like good food, but
Me too.
I don't cook.
I don't cook, but I want a nice kitchen. That's everybody in New York City. You don't cook, but you want the best kitchen.
That's right.
Thank you guys so much for being on my podcast.
Thanks so much, Kelly. It was awesome.
Thanks
for having us.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching and listening to Kelly Minds Her Manners. Make sure to subscribe to the show and don't forget to leave us a review to tell us what you liked about the episode. You can connect with Kelly at Kelly Minds Her Manners on Instagram and TikTok or on our website, www.kellymindshermanners.com.